Another day, another news line about people being offended by what someone has said about their culture. Doesn't matter whether it was Donald Trump or your next door neighbor. The question is, will we ever see a day where everyone is able to accept other cultures as equal to their own? If everything continues as is, it seems like the answer is no. We are currently living in a world full of misrecognition. Cultures are automatically assuming their superiority over all others simply because said cultures are unable to establish themselves. We cannot ignore the fact that our individual identities are partly shaped by recognition or its absence. It is often by the misrecognition of others that cultures become undermined. A person or a group of people can suffer real damage if the people in society around them give back to them a confining, demeaning, and contemptible picture of themselves. Recognition is a vital human need. People need to feel like they are needed and that they belong. The idea of recognition may be hard for some because everyone in every culture has their own unique way of being a human being. If you can recognize that yellow, red, and blue are all colors without one having an advantage in any way, how is it so hard to recognize that there is more than just English European culture in Canada? Let's take this beyond the Canadian borders for a second here and travel to South Africa, the area of the Zulus. Writer Saul Bellow states, "When the Zulus produce Tolstoy, we will read him." In case you're one of those people who has never read a classic Leo Tolstoy novel, he's a famous author from Russia. This statement is a blatant example of European arrogance and thinking that they are a superior culture. Simply put, the Zulus have the same potential for culture formation, yet they might never have the opportunity to establish a culture that is of value of others, so they're pretty much ignored. This creates a serious problem. It is a direct denial of human equality. How is it fair in any way for cultures to be undervalued based on what seems to be their economic standing? Just because the Zulus live in a poorer part of the world than the Tolstoys, it does not make their culture any less important or valuable. How can a culture as beautiful as that of the Zulus be so simply ignored because of the fact that they're unable to amount to things that people in the Western world are capable of? Every culture presents its own unique traditions, values, and beliefs. And because of one's ability to establish their culture and make it globally known, does not make it any more worthy of recognition over others. No matter how big or how small, everyone deserves their place in the world. Now, from coast to coast to coast, Canada is a country full of diversity, and three main cultural identities are all wanting to be recognized. Take a look at the metaphors for cultural rights that Michael Ignatieff has proposed. In an ideal world, life would be more like a billiards table. In this case put forward by Michael Ignatieff, everyone has equal rights as they are functioning in an identical system. Did he really think about this one? Because no one would want to have their edges rounded off, even if that means they can play the game better. They want to play the game on their own terms. With everyone fighting to have the advantage over everyone else, life will never resemble a billiards table. We need to stop and ask ourselves, how can we create a society where everyone has rights without flattening out the differences that give us our identity as individuals and as peoples? Getting past the differences that divide cultures is not an easy task. In Canada, the big three are Anglophones, Francophones, and Aboriginal peoples. Now, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms did not grant any special rights to the Quebecois or Aboriginal peoples because it was in line with not giving any special privileges to groups as everyone was deserving of equal rights. In agreement with the billiards table analogy, all provinces and people were to be treated the same. Those who wrote the charter had good intentions of wanting to bring the country together on the basis of equal rights, but we all know that this actually tore apart and divided our country. It should be noted that the Charter does protect the Quebecois and Aboriginal communities as minorities, but they do not want this protection because they do not see themselves as minorities and they want to gain that political recognition. English Canadians, French Canadians, and Native Canadians alike are identities that have been stitched together like a patchwork quilt. Ignatieff paints the picture of this patchwork quilt as each of the three cultures possesses unique rights to their people and also carry unique obligations. The goal of the patchwork society is to defend the asymmetrical distribution of rights, with every culture being visually and physically different and bringing its own set of values and beliefs to the identity of Canada. The country is stitched together in a way that works. Ultimately, with three different identities being federally recognized to have their own cultural rights, Canada works as a combination of both the billiards table and the patchwork quilt. Given Quebec's separatist history and the maltreatment of the Aboriginal peoples, it is easy to see why these cultural communities do not want to conform to the English-European standard of Canadian culture. Every culture is different because every individual human being is unique in their own way, meaning that they will all have their different expectations for as to how things in life should go about. In a perfect world, we would live the life of the billiards table where everyone is equal, with equal rights and equal recognition. But quite frankly, this is such a far-fetched dream because we're living in a dog-eat-dog world where everyone is constantly competing to be better than the rest. And so, there will always be at least one culture that is suffering from a lack of recognition and respect of rights. In the wise words of Ellen DeGeneres, be kind to one another.